Hello everyone, this is yours truly JBlue68 coming at you again with another exciting video dealing with the world of comics. This is going to be kind of a comic haul, but mainly a review, so a haul/review of a story I've been talking about for some time now, War of the Realms. But before I get into this video, I just want to say first, thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you for helping me to continue to grow. Especially to my UK subscribers. I'm not at where I want to be, but I'm sure and hoping that I will get there, and I'm hoping that you all will help me to get there. Hit that like bell, that like button, subscribe please, and share this video, and also hit the notification bell button so you can get notifications in your feed once I drop videos like this. So, War of the Realms. There's a lot to say. Basically, the story deals with familiar characters of the Marvel Comics universe, specifically in the Asgardian realm or world of Thor. In this case, the Dark Elf Malekith, who's been laying his seeds of evil and destruction throughout the Thor stories, written by Jason Aaron. Excuse me. Malekith's allies have been laying waste to the 10 realms. 9 have already fallen in these books, including Asgard itself, ruined in a battle that's seen Thor's hammer Mjolnir lost and destroyed, and the Rainbow Bridge shattered. Most of the Asgardians have relocated to a brownstone in the Bronx. Interesting. Malekith's forces consist of Loki, Vleek, who's the Lord of the Trolls, Curse, Malekith's enforcer, Laufey, king of the Frost Giants, and also Loki's biological father, Cinder, queen of Muspelheim, queen of heaven, and that's spelled Heven, and she's the ruler of the warrior angels, the enchantress, who's also she's an Asgardian sorceress, and Dario Ager, a shape-shifting CEO. Yes, you heard that right. A shape-shifting CEO. We're going to show some of the artwork from the pages, too, of this book. Let's move this out of the way. And I am, as some of you may know, I'm a completist. I like a complete series when I buy books. And I'm proud to say I do have the complete series of War of the Realms. It was a 6-part series, and it actually officially ended about 2 or 3 weeks ago. This book here actually has a wraparound cover, which I think is really neat. And I'm going to take it out of the Mylar here. Okay, so you can kind of see yourself. And I've showed this in the video before. But again, this is a review of the story, as I said I was going to do. So that's the front, of course, as you've already seen, and there's the back, and that is really very nice. I love wraparound covers, and this almost feels like cardboard. This is not the regular paper print that you would see on a comic book. Let me just open this up here. The artwork is by Russell Dauterman and Matthew Wilson. And I must say, I'm very impressed by the artwork that they did for the story. And you open it up further, and you kind of see a map of all the different realms of Asgard, Vanahelm, Heaven, Alfheim, Nidavellir, Muspelheim, Niflheim, and Svartalfheim, and Jotunheim. I'm not going to I'm not going to go through the entire map itself, but just kind of give you again a premiere of some of the artwork here, which I think is just very, very nice. That's Odin, of course, with the patch over his eye. Very, very nice. So you kind of check that out there. And there's some of the dark elves, Thor and Loki. So I'm gonna this right here so you can kind of see. I'm sorry if you hear some noise outside. Please excuse that noise. Nothing I can do about that. But anyway, getting back into the review of the story, the heroes in the story, or the heroes of Midgard, consist of on Earth. Midgard is another word for Earth, by the way, in the comics. But in the heroes of Midgard are Spider-Man, Jane Foster, the Punisher, Daredevil, Captain America, Black Panther, She-Hulk, Iron Man, Captain Marvel, Blade. And I said before that we continue to see Blade showing up in comic books. And was it not by coincidence that Saturday, which was July the 20th, they announced that Mahershala, if I'm pronouncing his first name correctly, Mahershala Ali will be playing the role of Blade. I said that in two videos that coincidentally that Blade continues to show up, and he shows up in this particular comic book too. As I mentioned, he's one of the heroes of Midgard, or planet Earth. Ghost Rider, Doctor Strange, and Wolverine also are participants in this battle, and the defenders of Earth against Malekith's forces. The story is kind of a typical bad guys invade Earth story. I like the story, but it's nothing I haven't seen before. Nothing that we haven't seen in previous Marvel Comics stories like The Siege. The Siege, to me, still remains one of the best Marvel stories ever. You know, that had me on the edge of my seat. Secret Invasion, Secret Empire, Dark Reign, some of the more outstanding Marvel stories. To say this is an outstanding story, I can't say that. To say it was a good story, yeah, I liked it, definitely. But those other stories that I just mentioned, far exceed this one. Far exceed this one. But I definitely recommend this story for reading, and I'll tell you why in a moment, towards the end of this review. But there's nothing particularly extraordinary about the story, except for the spin-off stories, which are Uncanny X-Men, and I'll show you those stories. Uncanny X-Men, just gonna move the camera around here. Uncanny X-Men, Giant Man, and the true breakout series is right here, and that is New Agents of Atlas from War of the Realms, and we'll get into that in a moment. Now, there were other War of the Realms spin-off stories, including Journey into Mystery. There was a Spider-Man story, and I think one that dealt with Venom. And Marvel usually does that. So does DC Comics. When they come out with a major story arc, they usually have little spin-off stories to go with the main story. All right, and here's book number 2, and this is Marvel Previews, but I actually have the comic itself. So that's book number 2. And again, I love the cover art for these books, and the page art. Again, it's very well done. And that includes for the spin-off stories. So that's book number 3 right there. Very nice. Showing the Frost Giants, and one of the Frost Giants looks like he has Thor in his hand, a bloody, beaten Thor in his hand. It's that was book number 3. Here's book number 4. And Venom plays a very important part in this story. Here's the CEO that I mentioned, the shape-shifting CEO. That is an awesome cover. Whether you like the story or not, the artwork was beautiful, and I actually got posters of the artwork itself. And here's book number 5, with Black Panther leading an army of defenders and Avengers against another army from Asgard. It looks like these are the Dark Trolls or something like that, riding on some great beast. And then the final book of the main series, book number 6. So that's a complete story, complete series right there that I'm glad to have. But back to the review of the story itself. As I was saying, there's nothing particularly extraordinary um, about the story. Nothing different than you've seen or read about in other Marvel major storylines that they came out before. And those I mentioned being The Siege, Secret Invasion, Secret Empire, or Dark Reign. I didn't feel it necessary to buy all the spin-offs because you pretty much get the gist and entirety of the story in the main books. These 6 here that I just showed you. In this story, we see Freya and Odin, Thor's parents, captured and tortured by Malekith, and the Valkyrie are slaughtered by his dark forces. We also see the rise and unexpected changes of some of the heroes, such as Daredevil, who allies himself with Heimdall and gets godlike powers. So that's going to change in some way the Daredevil stories going forward. Jane Foster did have a surprising change in this story, where she inherits the powers of the Valkyrie, which of course will launch a new series for her character. And I believe that starts this week. A new series for her, as well as a new Loki series, which I showed in the video yesterday and last week. The Giant Man series, let's move that to the center here. And these are being done by lots, of course. So the Giant Man lot. The Giant Man story, to me, was kind of unnecessary. It was unnecessary satire, as it dealt with the personalities of guys who can basically transform to giant-sized superhuman beings by the way of Pym particle technology. I'm a fan of the Ant-Man, Giant Man thing, so that's why I bought it. I thought it would be interesting to see the story, as there hasn't been a story dealing with Giant Man in a while, and this story had 4 of them, so I'm like, wow, yeah. The Giant Man characters are, of course, Scott Lang, right here, who's also Ant-Man / Giant Man. Raz Morhalta, he's Mexican, and he's also part of the LGBTQ community. He's gay. And then there's who is it? Tom Foster here, who I thought was Bill Foster. That's Tom Foster, who's a nephew of the late Bill Foster, who died during the superhero Civil War, comics, and that's his nephew there. And then last but not least is Eric Jostin, also known as Atlas, who was once part of the Young Avengers team. Of the 4, Eric, who's on the corner here, Eric has the least education, whereas the other 3 have master's degrees or something, and he seems to have a more violent, rush-to-battle attitude and a very bad temper. All 4 of them are sent on a mission by Freya, Thor's mom, to kill the frost giant Laufey, who supposedly kills Loki by eating him alive. That was a trip. The mission is successful, but overall, I feel this story was one I feel could have been part of the main storyline. Later on, we learn, though, that Loki is not dead, and he inherits the kingdom of Jotunheim as his rightful heir, since he is actually the son of the frost giant Laufey, which leads to his new solo series. So, and again, that comes out this week. For the other story, the X-Men story, and there were 3 books in this series, by the way, and I read them all. And also Stature makes an appearance. I should have mentioned that too. Stature makes an appearance. She's a daughter of Scott Lang, and she also has the ability to morph to giant size. So I thought that was pretty cool to see her. But again, the story overall was not really necessary. Uncanny X-Men War of the Realms. I haven't read any of these yet. I'm going to, and see how they fit and have any significance in the War of the Realms. But basically, it's them trying to rid Earth, all of them trying to rid Earth of the evil forces of Malekith. That's really, again, the gist of everything. But this is a very cool cover here. You have the Valkyrie, Brondenheim, I think that's how you pronounce her name, or Brondenheim. We have Magic there. I believe this is Chamber and Wolfsbane. So, to name a few. And here's a really, really nice cover here. which features, of course, that is Sabretooth on the book number 2 of Uncanny X-Men War of the Realms. That is a sweet cover. So even if I don't like the story, the artwork is superb. And here's book number 3 of Uncanny X-Men. But again, the only story that really had any significance to me out of War of the Realms, that really stood out, was this one here. Oh, baby. And this is Agents of Atlas, or the new Agents of Atlas. The storyline to me so far has been pretty dope. It's still in progress. The books are not finished yet. I don't think they are anyway. So far, I have 4 books of this series. It reads almost like a movie script, and the character intros are pretty amazing. It starts with former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Jimmy Woo, who has assembled a remarkable group of Asian superheroes to battle Malekith's dark armies, particularly Cinder, who's the Queen of Muspelheim, which I already mentioned. Jimmy Woo recruits our Amadeus Cho. Amadeus Cho here, who's also known as Brawn. He has Hulk-like abilities, and he also once served on the Champions. Kamala Khan, but I don't think Kamala's on this cover. But she doesn't stay long in the book anyway. She goes off to America to help the Americans fight against the forces of Malekith. And we also have Cindy Moon, known as Silk, right here. And Shang Chi, Master of Kung Fu. So glad to hear the announcement of that movie, by the way. And some other very exciting characters. I think that's right here. This character is known as, what is her name? Let's see if I can think of it. I think that's Wave. And here's a Swordmaster. Okay, and then we also have another character here. And what is her name, if I can think of it? Luna Snow, I believe. And then here is the character known as Crescent something. Denbai, her name is Crescent. And she's a Taekwondo prodigy. And she has the ability to produce this, the power to project a magic bear. And that's what you see behind her. Similar to how Psylocke from the X-Men can use her psionic powers to produce her energy sword, where she has the same kind of powers, but she uses it to produce this giant bear here. What's cool, even more cool, is that they make the distinction of the characters' ethnic backgrounds, and I thought that was so very cool. You know, as Marvel has been, a comic book company that I've said for a long time, puts a lot of strength in diversity, whether you like that or not. They have Chinese American characters in here, Korean American, native Chinese, and a Pakistani, and that's what Miss Marvel is. There's also a Hawaiian superhero in here too, by the name of Pele. She's a goddess of fire and lava. And I actually did an artwork from the pages. You can check out some of my videos. Just go back and check out some of my videos where I show artwork from this book, and you can actually see the characters that I'm speaking of in the book. Instead of coming to America like you see most superheroes do, they're always fighting in New York and Manhattan. They actually stay over in their countries and defend their people in Dubai, Shanghai, and in the Philippines, which again I thought was really cool. The story also revisits a superhero team that was introduced years ago in the Invincible Iron Man series that was written by Matt Fraction, called the Triumph Division. The Triumph Division is an Asian or Filipino superhero group. They were introduced in Invincible Iron Man. I forgot the number, but yeah, written by Matt Fraction years ago. So this is not the first time these superheroes have actually been published in a book, but this is the first time they actually been put together in one book as a superhero team. There are 2 different teams of superheroes who are fighting 2 different fronts in China and in the Philippines. When the 2 teams meet, they don't get along, and there's turmoil between them. I love the conflict of egos and differences that eventually have to be resolved for the greater good to fight a much larger force and dangerous enemy. I believe this story could. I believe that these stories, the War of the Realms stories, could lay the groundwork for the upcoming Loki series that will be on Disney Plus streaming service next year, or this year actually. Not only that, Avengers Endgame. We basically seen the dissection of the Avengers, and Earth will need superhero teams or superhumans or gifted superhumans to protect them from otherworldly and alien forces, since the Avengers are no more, pretty much. I'm thinking that eventually in the MCU we will see the creation of superhero teams throughout the world to replace the disassembled Avengers, and these will be some of those teams. This already exists in the comics. For example, we have Winter Guard, which is a Russian superhero team that I believe they're going to show them in the upcoming Black Widow film. And there's also Alpha Flight, a Canadian superhero team, the Triumph Division that I mentioned, which is from the Philippines. So, again, the significance of this story, I believe, will be the groundwork for Loki, and will also be the groundwork for what we'll be seeing in the upcoming MCU films for phases 4 and 5. Not necessarily page per page, letter per letter, but the stories themselves, the overall story arcs, I think will be used, to give some brevity, some importance to Loki and why, and him having a mission and having a purpose, as opposed to just having him just floating around, just for the sake of fans liking Tom Hiddleston playing as Loki. So, do I recommend it for reading? Yes. Is it absolutely necessary to read? No. But I think it will at some point become a necessary story to read. And we'll probably see the return of Malekith. He was shown in the movie Thor: The Dark World. But I believe that at some point in time, either he or someone from Asgard who will return to try to conquer Earth again, and Loki will be used, as a pinnacle person to resist or fight against Malekith, or maybe join him in conquering the Earth. And we'll probably see one of these superhero teams take him down, as is described in the War of the Realms. So I hope that this was a good and decent review for you all in terms of the story itself, and helping you to understand the story and the characters. And again, I say, of all the stories to read, definitely pick up the New Agents of Atlas. And their solo series will be starting pretty soon. But the next big story that will be coming out in a couple of weeks, I think 2 more weeks, will be this one here. Absolute Carnage, written by Donny Cates. Can't wait for that. That's the next big story for this summer. Written by Donny Cates and artwork by Ryan Stegman. And by the way, Ryan Stegman will be coming to Detroit August the 7th. He will be at a local comic book shop, which I will not name at this time, but I will in an upcoming video. And I will be doing a video, hopefully, of meeting his acquaintance and getting an autograph from him. So that's it. That's all, y'all. Again, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Peace, love, and hair grease.